Hello, my name is Bobby Benton, aka Serendipitously Bobby, and welcome to Life Essentials, the Self Healer's Journey podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Life Essentials, the Self Healer's Journey podcast. I am Bobby Benton, aka Serendipitously Bobby, and feels like I've been gone for a little while, so we're back. So tonight, guys, we have the beautiful Miss Denise Kolakowski. She is a public educator with Michigan Poison and Drug Information Center. She advocates for individuals in the poison and substance abuse arena. And tonight, Denise is going to educate us because this is Poison Control Week, right?
It's National Poison Prevention Week.
National Poison Prevention. Why I say control? National Poison Prevention Week. I'm sorry about that. So we are just gonna dive in. So welcome, Denise. I'm glad to have you back, y'all. She's been here before, so
Glad to be here, Bobby.
yes. So tonight, Denise, we talked about a lot prior to the show. So I just want to just dive in. So can we start off just sharing for Poison Prevention Week, like what does that all contain? Like share what that's about.
So National Poison Prevention Week is celebrated by all poison centers throughout the U.S. and U.S. territories. Just to give a little bit of history here, a little bit of background, there are 55 accredited poison centers with America's Poison Centers. For some people, they might know it as the American Association of Poison Control Centers, but we've recently rebranded to the America's Poison Centers. And so they're still the same poison centers. There's 55 of them, and they're in the continental U.S. as well as U.S. territories. So we have one in Guam, Grand Mauritius, Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. So we're operating throughout all of these territories, and we also do work with the Canadian Poison Centers as well, although they're separate, but we have a good relationship with them. In fact, last year we had the North American Congress of Clinical Toxicology in Montreal, so everybody was in Montreal to participate in that particular event. It's an annual event, and so National Poison Prevention Week is the week that educators throughout the U.S. and, like I said, U.S. territories will highlight what their poison centers do and what poison centers do in general.
Okay.
And so today we're going to be talking a little bit about what our poison center does, but as far as educators go, educators at poison centers really push poison prevention messages. In Michigan, there's a little bit of a difference because of what I do and programs that I've implemented. And I would say that it's probably, that's something that you would probably see at other poison centers as well. So it's really based on what programs they've implemented. I'll be talking a little bit about this, but we do have here during when everything was shut down, it's like, how am I going to reach the people? So I actually started the MIPDC, which stands for Michigan Poison and Drug Information Center, Coalition for Poison Prevention.
Okay.
And so I'll be talking about some of our partners a little bit later on.
Okay.
And that's just another branch of the outreach that we do. But everything always has a message of prevention in everything that we do, including further extensions of the prevention messaging and my relationship with, and our relationship with the Prevention Network.
Okay, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Starting off with a lot to begin with, right?
Yes, no, but I did not know any of that, and I guarantee you 90% of the country does not know about that either.
Right.
So when you were telling me, when you were on the show last, you talked about Poison Prevention Week. I was like, oh, that'd be good, because I don't know. And for you to come on, and that's the whole point of the show. Let's educate, help people and everything like that. So I'm glad you're here. And anytime you have anything you want to get out there, you are welcome to come share. So um, we, when we were talking, so we have so many all over, but so you said, okay, so prevention, share with me like some of the ways you do that, like with the public and other organizations and things.
I don't know if you want to cue them.
Oh, you want to cue the presentation? Thank you. Is it that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So can I just start by talking with our
Yes.
team? Because I'm going to get into all of the things that.
Yep, go
Well,
ahead. That's
well,
why you're
some
here.
of the things. I wouldn't say all of the things. There's a lot of things that we do at the Poison Center, but I did want to share so that people know.
Okay.
The first thing that I want to say is that, we always hope that people have our number so that they can contact the Poison Center. So I'm going to repeat this several times throughout this discussion today. But the Poison Helpline number is 1-800-222-1222. And one of the things that we hear sometimes on calls is, I had to look for the number. I couldn't find the number. And so they're Googling online and, just trying to find the number. So always program that number into your phone as the Poison Helpline. That way, no matter where you're at in the U.S., you're going to reach your local Poison Center. So that's the first thing that I want to get out there to everybody. So who are you going to talk to when you call the Poison Center? So when you call the Poison Center, the first people that you're going to talk to are going to be our specialists in poison information. Specialists in poison information are nurses, physicians, and pharmacists. So they have training in those fields. They've worked in those fields, and so they're medical professionals. So that's something that's really rare that you would find on a helpline, is that you're actually speaking to a medical professional when you call. And then those specialists are trained on the job to become certified specialists in poison information. So they have to sit for a certification exam after taking several thousand calls over a couple years. Then they become eligible and they go through training to take that test. And then we have our clinical toxicologists. So we have our clinical toxicology consultants. We have a team of them, and they're also available, just like the specialists in poison information. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if somebody is very sick and they're admitted into a healthcare facility and it's the middle of the night, and a physician or another healthcare provider needs to speak with a specialist, there is an on-call toxicologist, clinical toxicologist. So what we do is it's comprehensive.
Yeah.
So from the advice that they're going to get from the specialist in poison information to the clinical toxicology consulting, they're getting thorough and constant advice if that's what's needed. And like I said, that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's another big difference that we have with our call center. It's always available, as with other poison centers as well.
No, and I like that there's actually like a true professional there to help, because most people are like, hold on, let me connect you to the resource. So the resource is here. So I really do like that. So, and then I like when you said store the number in the phone, because guess what? You said it the other day, I still didn't store it. So I'm gonna go ahead and store it in my phone, Denise. So
you'll remember that after today, right?
Yeah. So, but it is important, because I guarantee you, most people don't have that in their phone. So I am going to store the number in my phone, and actually tell my kids and other people too. So that's important. And also, we had talked about like avenues like harm reduction and things like that. So do you want to get into that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the part of community outreach, so I do public community outreach, and there's different facets of that. As we were talking before, the Coalition for Poison Prevention is a part of that, And so I work with other agencies throughout the state and local agencies as well. And so one of the things that I do, of course, I do presentations. So what are these presentations? They're going to be about some type of prevention message. There's a particular agency that I've been working with quite a bit recently, and it's mentioned in my partner slide, but that's Healthy Grosse Points in Harper Woods. And this is not something that would be exclusive to them. However, it's available to everybody else. It's just we've been very active in that community. So some of the things that we've been talking about are, of course, misuse of cannabis-related products, as well as other substances of abuse. So these are presentations that the community there is interested in, and so I speak to community members. Our managing director and academic director, Dr. Varun Vora, also did a presentation with them specifically about vaping, because he has a lot of background in that and has done quite a bit of research. So that's a wonderful presentation. You can actually find it on their webpage, which there are links to those web pages in a few slides, and we'll put those up in a little bit. So you can go to that webpage and actually see that presentation if you're interested in looking at that. So in any case, we do the community presentations, but one of the other things that I do, and I think that most Poison Center educators love to do, is presentations at schools. We want to speak to younger audiences, because the younger a person is, when they're getting this prevention message, the longer that's going to carry with them. And then when they're faced with obstacles, for instance, if they learn about prevention when they're in preschool and they're in grade school, when they're faced with obstacles or substances of abuse, then that might help them to think about, maybe this is not something that I want to participate in, or something that could actually harm me. So if we're getting that message to children when they're small, and carrying that through, even throughout high school, and getting in at whatever level they're at, then we know it can make a difference.
Yeah, that is good. That's like back in the day, like in the 80s, like when I'm gonna say the crack era and stuff, they were pushing the, like, say no to drugs, all that stuff. Like the commercials were everywhere. And I think it's gotten better. I mean, it's still a problem out here, but I think it's gotten better because the message, and it was getting to us, me in the 80s, you younger, so I like that. And then also, let me make sure we stay on track, okay? So do you want to dive into also when people use poisons or things for self-harm?
So when we think of self-harm, self-harm could be that somebody, is intending to harm themselves in a detrimental way. And it could be that they're simply misusing a substance. It could be that they're looking to get high, for instance. But they might not necessarily understand the implications of that. But there is a program that has been launched nationally. I have been working on the work group. It's the Suicide Prevention Work Group with America's Poison Center's Public Educator Committee. And so all of us have been pushing this message out and this program out. So there is a program, and it's available to agencies, schools, and other entities that might be interested in having their employees, their students hear this. But it is a specific presentation that has been created and well received throughout other regions. But it specifically is about strategies, data, but also strategies to help prevent self-harm, but specific to poisons. So it could be poison related to a drug or other poison related issues. And we also do push and advocate for the suicide hotline in this presentation. So if this is something that you would be interested in and you want to hear data regarding suicide, this is available. But there is also the message of help. And we advocate for the agencies that are available in our state, as well as national resources such as SAMHSA, which is, and the suicide hotline.
Yeah, because when you have brought that up, when I hear essay, suicide. No, I say essay. Oops, I'm sorry, but like suicide by poison. That's something like movies. You see a lot of people doing it that in movies, but you don't think about everyday life. It's normally doing other things. So, and then like you said, accidental.
It could be accidental, but the reality is that we receive calls every day. I don't know of any poison center that doesn't receive calls every day regarding people who may be trying to harm themselves by use of substances. It could be a medication. It could be other substances, other chemicals. So it's very specific. And when these cases are brought to a poison center, but a call comes in to a poison center regarding this. This is definitely something that our clinical toxicologists would be taking a look at and seeing if there's, any advice that we can provide to the healthcare providers who are bedside with these patients. So a lot of care goes into these cases.
Yeah, I'm glad. So let's also talk about people not understanding that in the home their medications can be poison. We had talked about that too. So, or they say I don't have poisons in my home or things like that. So dive into that for us.
Well, first thing that I want to say is everybody has poisons in their home because it's the dose that makes the poison. So everything has the potential to be poisonous. Medications definitely have the potential to be poisonous. So when we're thinking of adult medications, there's so many different medications that an adult could take. They might be taking psychiatric medication. They might be taking pain medication. They might be taking medication that's meant for heart-related issues, diabetes. And so for an adult, this keeps them well, or it helps them with their pain. But if a small child or somebody naive to those medications takes it, it could make them extremely sick. I think of diabetes medications. There's a whole subsection of them called sulfonylureas. And those are medications that if a small child were to eat one of them, it's a one and done, we're sending them into the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Because they have to be monitored for an extended period of time. There's other medications that are like that too. That's just one that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. So the reason that we want them there is maybe they'll be okay. However, if their blood sugar were all of a sudden to drop very, very low, they would need medical intervention. And that can happen very quickly. So these are the types of things that like I said, our clinical toxicologists would be involved with, and certainly our specialists would be involved with.
Yeah. So it's like, to me, like you said, the dosage, all that, but having a lockbox to put your medications in is important. So I had 4 children. I was fostering 4 kids in my home. But before that, there were no kids. So I had my medications in the cabinets everywhere. But one of the rules that I had to have a lockbox, and it had to be put away because that was here. I couldn't have cough medicine, anything, Tylenol, vitamins, all that stuff had to be put in that lockbox because, like you said, you get a hold of it, it's serious, especially for little people. So, folks, get a lockbox for your medications, especially if you have narcotic medications. Get that, and don't allow kids to take medications on their own.
No. Yeah, there are, I think that a lot of parents and caregivers get to a point, particularly if a child has been taking a medication for a while. Maybe it's something for ADHD, maybe it's, whatever health issue they have. And so they feel that the child knows better at this point. And so they can handle taking that medication on their own. But it could be that one time that maybe the child forgot that they already took it, and then they took another one. There are some medications that taking a double dose could be a problem. And so calling the Poison Center and speaking with one of our specialists, we can help walk people through that to see if there is going to be a dosage issue with that amount. But before we even get to that point, there's really no substitute for adult supervision. So we really recommend that a responsible adult always watch children, even if they're in their teens.
Yep.
Watch them take their medication. Make sure that they're taking the right amount. And so I know it's a lot of work, but it's going to prevent a lot of hassle and a lot of grief, honestly. So when we're talking about locking up medications, so there's different mechanisms that can be used. One of the things that we see now, which was not available not too long ago, but it's the locking pill planners, the pill schedulers. So they do come with locks now, but a lot of them are being given away without the locks.
Yeah.
So those ones are really dangerous. And then when I think of those, particularly if you have small children around, it looks like a toy filled with candy to them. So if a small child were to get a hold of pill planners, whether it has a lock on it or not, they're going to open it up. They're going to think that these are candies, and then we're looking at not only multiple exposures to one medication, but multiple medications. So that can be very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
So never keep those out. If you have them, if you must use a pill planner, put it up somewhere. Make sure that it's locked away, and that it's only out when you're using it. And if you have the locking mechanism on that pill planner, that's even better. What we really recommend, though, is that people keep medications in their original containers, because then you know what was in that pill bottle if somebody gets a hold of it. And I know that can be a hassle. But if a small child were to get a hold of the pill bottle with the child safety cap or the child resistant lock on the pill planner, it's just a matter of time before they're going to get that open. And that's why there's just no substitute for supervision by a responsible adult. So when you're locking up medications, whether it's medication or recreational substances that are legal to use in Michigan, you want to make sure that you're not just putting them in a cupboard with a child safety latch, because if you've ever pulled on a child safety latch, you know that they pop right open. That's only a mechanism to slow things down. So you actually do want a lock on your cabinet, but you also want to put it in a lock box. But the specific kind of lock box is really important. A key, anybody can get a hold of a key. But if you have a combination that only you know, or those who need to access that box know, that's really your best bet. So combination lock boxes are going to be the best. They also make lock boxes or lock bags with combinations as well. So if you have that option of going with the combination lock, that's always going to be the best. And then you can put it in a locking cabinet with a key. But
double lock. Yeah, I don't remember my lock code.
So do the best you can with that. But when you think about, a healthcare facility, they have a medication room. That medication room is locked and the cupboard is locked. So if you have multiple people in your home taking medication, doing that safeguard is best. Also, you want to keep it in a low traffic area. If you're locking medication up, it shouldn't be in the kitchen. And the bathroom is a really bad idea because of temperature variations. So both the kitchen and the bathroom have temperature variations, and that can affect the effectiveness of your medication as well. So
yeah, I keep mine in the bedroom. My bedroom door has a lock, and it's in the closet on the shelf. So, and nobody goes in there. But no, and it's just little things like that. It's like an ounce of prevention can save, can prevent so much. And it's those little things, like the phone number. Nobody thinks about that. It's those little things. It's that one little thing that could change the trajectory of somebody's life. So, but yeah, so lock them up, folks, lock them up. And then also, can we talk about the community partners a little bit more?
Sure.
Can you pop that one up? Is that it?
Yeah, we're going back.
There,
There we go. Oh.
the other one. Go back. Right there.
Okay, so yes, there are several community partners that I have put on this particular slide. Oh, I think we're popping.
There we go.
There are more community partners, but I did want to draw attention to these because we're talking about prevention, and these specific partners I have worked with a lot regarding prevention, and will continue to work with them. The first one, as you can see, is the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the division is SUGE, or that's Substance Use, Gambling, and Epidemiology. So if you go to that page, and these links will be available after today. So if you go to that specific link, it's a very long link, it actually takes you to not only mental health resources, but recovery resources that are available in each county throughout the state. So lots of resources on the SUGE pages and Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. You know, a lot of people will look at the MDHHS webpage, but they don't know the breadth of everything that's available on it. And there are so many resources. So I do really recommend, if you haven't gone on that page, do take a look at MDHHS's pages. And particularly if you look at SUGE, you're going to find behavioral health, you're going to find recovery resources, and you'll actually find what is in your area. So just there's a lot of good resources. And so I work with SUGE on a particular work group right now, and part of that work group goes into the next community partner, which is the Prevention Network. So again, just like the MDHHS page, a lot of people don't realize everything that's available with the Prevention Network. So I've actually done a few presentations with the Prevention Network. The last one that I did was the parenting group. And so that's available to anyone throughout the state of Michigan. And the specific topics that I was speaking about with the parenting group are what was trending, what substances of abuse are trending in Michigan, as well as throughout the country, and other poison related trends. So this is of great interest to parents, obviously. And then there's also MyCan, which is the youth related branch of the Prevention Network. So I really do recommend, if you haven't gone on to Prevention Network Michigan, take a look at the resources that are there. I'm actually going to be meeting with some of the preventionists in Lansing next month. So I'm looking forward to seeing my friends with the Prevention Network. And then
You can go back to where is it? Right there.
Okay. Another group that I've been working with for quite some time and doing several presentations with them throughout the years is the Oakland Livingston Human Services Agency, or well, it's the agency.
Hi, guys.
So the first group that I worked with over at OLSA was Grandparents Raising Grandchildren. And shout out to Lisa Grotzky.
Hey, Lisa.
So Lisa, she's the director of that program. She does a wonderful job, and she provides so many resources and just tools for it's not just for grandparents. It's all family members who are fostering other members of their family who are in need. And so she helps them get those resources, get funding, so that those family members can actually continue to take care of the children that are in their family. So it's kinship care. That's the bigger term for it. So a lot of great work there. I love working with them and providing our resources and just helping them out in any way that I can help them out, just because of the wonderful work that they do. They also, just by extension, they do a lot of work with Big Family of Michigan, and they're not on the list here, but I've known the director of Big Family of Michigan far before I worked in this field, long time. But they work together and on different types of projects, and each year they put on a holiday program, and so they provide gifts to families who can't otherwise afford them during that time, so that the kids have something during the holidays. Yeah, it's a great program. And then the next one, is the ACT program. It's a STOP program, and this is training through AmeriCorps. So the Center for Urban Studies at Wayne State University has a branch that is specific to stopping overdoses. And so they do community training, on-campus training. Last International Overdose Awareness Day, they did a public training. I invited them to come, and so they did a public training where people could be certified in overdose reversal.
Is that the Narcan?
Yeah.
Okay.
So naloxone.
Okay.
Yeah, naloxone is the generic name
Oh,
for
okay.
for the overdose reversal agent.
Okay.
So they did the training and provided certification to anybody who was there at the training and participated in that training. And we did that, and I plan to do it again. Just a heads up, on International Overdose Awareness Day, which is always August 31st. And I've been doing this for the last 3 years down at the Spirit of Detroit Park Plaza.
Oh.
So yeah. It's a wonderful event, and I'm hoping to broaden it. So I'll talk to the people at Suge about that again this year. So look forward to that.
Give me flyers. Give me out.
I will. I will,
Share.
absolutely. And then, of course, I mentioned before that I work with Healthy Gross Points in Harper Woods, do a lot of education. I've been able to get into the high schools in that area, which is one thing that we always want to do. We want to be able to speak to the kids. Like I said, meeting them before
Yep.
they come in contact with substances and helping them to think before they engage in use of those substances is really one of our goals.
Yeah, and I like that goal. I like that goal. Okay, so let's see. I did write down at the 31st of August, so I'll make sure we get some information posted when you start that.
It's always a windy event. Just if you've never been down there, it's very windy on the Detroit River.
I'm gonna add that to my calendar so I can join you. Let's see. And then, so we did a community partners. So is there any more information that you think that we need to know about poison prevention?
About poison prevention. So poison prevention, like I said before, anything is poison. And a lot of people don't think about that, obviously, in our daily lives. But when I think of toxicology, toxicology is the study that our specialists work in, and that our clinical toxicologists work in, and that by extension, educators work in as well. So when we think about toxicology, a lot of people, they just specifically think of poison. You know, they have that image of the skull and crossbones.
Yeah.
But that's not really the reality. It could be anything. It could be a plant. It could be a food poisoning. And when we're thinking of poison centers, we deal with all of that. There are different branches to toxicology. There's, of course, environmental toxicology, and there's different branches of chemical toxicology. We're clinical toxicology. So what poison centers, the America's Poison Centers, specifically deal with is the clinical toxicology aspect. So if somebody has an acute poisoning, or it's a sudden poisoning, it could, or they think it could be a poisoning. If they call the poison center, then our specialists in poison information, being medical professionals, can go through the entire scenario of what has happened and really determine, is this a poisoning situation, or is it a medical situation? Is it something else entirely? And if they don't know, then the clinical toxicologist can take a look at it as well. If you look at it in an EKG, electrocardiogram, there's going to be differences between what we would see if somebody's actually having a health-related issue related to the heart, as opposed to a poison-related issue. So these are the things that they're skilled in looking at and really differentiating if somebody didn't know. I mean, obviously, if we know that somebody has been exposed to whatever toxin it is, whatever poison it is, then they're going to advise based on what that information is. So, like I said, always available around the clock. And that's just the great thing, is that these medical professionals are always available. But when we think of prevention, really when we're thinking of prevention, it's really just being diligent and thinking about the things that people that you might have around your house. When we're thinking of small children, for instance, and you're going into somebody else's home for the first time, maybe they're not going to be as studious about poison prevention in their home. They might not have child safety locks. It could be that you're in an older relative's house. Maybe that older relative, like I said, takes a lot of different medication. It could be that they're taking heart medication, pain medication, diabetes medication. Do you think that they drop things on the floor and forget about it?
Yep.
Yeah. So getting down on the floor and taking a look to see if a small child entering this home could be at risk. That would be one of the things that I would advise. I know when I was a very young parent, I was actually advised to do that. So I did it. And lo and behold, at the grandparents' house, yes, we found many pills on the floor. So we have to clean those things up before children are allowed. And if you're ever in doubt, you just don't let them go around. But then there's other things that we have to be concerned about. When we're thinking about cannabis, many people have cannabis-related products around the house, and a lot of them come in packaging that looks like it's for children.
Yep.
Or it's a product that even just sitting out looks like it would be something that anybody could eat. It could be candy, it could be a cookie, it could be a brownie. I've even seen cheesecake. So you can put these THC oils in anything. So if a small child or somebody naive to cannabis were to come along and grab that, they could become quite sick from it. So these are the things that you have to think about now. And being that cannabis is legal and to use for adults only over the age of 21, these are things that you have to think about when younger people are in the house. And of course, thinking about that if somebody has never been exposed to it, they can have adverse effects from that.
Yeah, and that's scary because like on the news you hear stories about kids like overdosing on heavy narcotics. Like people are having their fun and just passing out and leaving it out, and the kids are just, like you said, unsupervised, left to do what they do. So that's scary to think about, just not protecting your kids or having being proactive instead of reactive. So
Yes.
Scary because I've heard some things, but I want to open the chat. It is 7:38. I wanted to open the chat to see if anybody had questions. So guys, the chat is the Facebook chat. So if anybody has any questions for Denise, because she has some great, like really great information. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So, what are some one of the questions are, what are some common household items that you have heard of that are like high risk for kids in the home?
As I stated, medications are going to be at the top of the list. When we're looking at the majority of poisonings that occur, and this is not just in Michigan, this is across all of the territories of America's poison centers, probably I would think beyond our borders as well. But there's a list. At the very top of the list are going to be analgesics, which are pain medications. So this could be a narcotic pain medication. It could also be over-the-counter medication. It could be ibuprofen or acetaminophen, aspirin. All of these the pain relieving drugs are at the top of the list. And like I said, that's not uncommon throughout the entire country. And then of course we have household cleaning products. Those are very high up on the list. So keep medications, keep household cleaning products locked up. And then we also have one thing that has been climbing up the list are antihistamines. One in particular, diphenhydramine. You know it by a brand name.
Benadryl.
The Benadryl, yes.
Yeah.
So this particular medication can be quite dangerous. It's particularly, even if a small child gets a hold of one, they can have an adverse reaction just from taking one adult strength Benadryl or diphenhydramine. We don't see that too often. However, people who take excessive amounts of this, particularly if we're looking at teens or youth who may abuse this or misuse this type of medication, there can be seizures, and then there can be extended symptoms. So they can be hospitalized for quite some time before they recover from these types of overdoses.
Oh, wow.
So keeping that in mind. And also keep this in mind. The majority of poisonings happen in a residence. So the vast majority happen in a home, somebody's home. It doesn't have to be your home. It could be somebody else's home. So that's why it's so important to safeguard things at home, and that's why we push that messaging. But no matter where you're at, you should safeguard your medications. And then, of course, we have other types of medications which are fairly common. And again, I'm going down the top 5 list. So antipsychotics, sedatives, those are another thing. And then we have street drugs, what we call street drugs, or other substances of abuse. And in that category, of course, is also cannabis and other types of street drugs, which can be broken down into many, many forms. So those are the top. But when we're looking at the population where people are poisonous, or the demographic, it's going to be 0 to 5 years old. So toddlers, they don't know. They're exploring everything. If they find something, they're going to put it in their mouth. And, if it's sitting around, it's easy pickings for them.
Like you said, candy.
It's candy, right?
Yeah. So
I hope that answered their question.
yes. So one thing with teens, in my everyday life, I work with a lot of teens, and so kids have been known to put random pills in a bowl and just take them, don't even know what they are, and just popping them. Like, that is so dangerous. And so I ran into a situation where something like that happened, and they didn't know the poison number. They knew 911, but they didn't know what to do. Like, so I'm dialing 911, but is there any, I'm asking for myself too. Like, in that situation, so you dial 911, say you don't have that number, are there things that the parents can do, or the group of friends, to help that person until help does arrive?
Until help arrives, you're going to want to monitor them. And hopefully, CPR. So if you haven't been trained in CPR, you want to get trained. But if we're thinking of a group of youth dumping a lot of pills into a bottle, or into a bowl, and just grabbing whatever, then we don't know what kind of symptoms are going to develop. And the only way that we would be able to know that is if we had the pill, we looked at the code that's on the pill, if there is a code on the pill. But even then, we don't know, because there's counterfeit medications out there now. And so we're seeing, for instance, a pill that we think could be one thing, and it could be laced with fentanyl. It could be laced with, or not laced with, but contaminated with a myriad of other substances that are even more dangerous than fentanyl, fentanylogs, and other things. We don't necessarily know what's coming over the borders. And so that's something that teens need to be very well aware of at this point. If you're taking something and it was not prescribed to you, you don't know the source. And there have been many instances where youth have taken a medication, what they think is a medication, or they think is even an illicit drug, and that was the last thing that they did. So steering clear of that. When you're faced with these things, if you learn when you're young, hopefully when you're faced with it when you're older, you'll make a better decision.
Now, you said something, so you said pills have codes. So can you explain that? Because I know my vitamins don't have a number, but my prescriptions do. So what does that mean?
So if it's a pill that has been approved by the FDA, it's a medication, number one, because the FDA doesn't regulate vitamins. They regulate medications
Okay.
and food. So that pill imprint, if it is in fact that medication, will contain the active ingredient that it's supposed to contain. And so a poison center, and there's other sources that you can go to online where you can actually find out what that medication is. However, if you're in doubt, that can be it can be dangerous. So just never take something unless you know it is prescribed to you and it came in the prescription bottle or the over-the-counter bottle that it should be coming from.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know that about that, the numbers with that. I had no clue. A lot of other people don't know. Did y'all know? Oh. So, let's see what else, other questions. We answered that one. So one of the questions is ways to educate like the small children. So ways to educate. We'll just say that.
Well, it depends on how small the child is. There is a specific program that I've launched, and the story that I have for small children is called You Can Help Too. And it empowers children to start thinking about poison prevention when they're old enough to understand. So this is intended for pre-K through K.
Okay.
And then there's some other tools that I've developed for elementary age children and then youth. And of course, there's adults. So did want to mention that if you go on to the mipoisonhelp.org, that's our webpage, and you go to the coalition, the MIPDC coalition page, if you scroll down, you're going to see that I just launched a program this week, and this is the Partnership for Poison Prevention Education. And this involves short videos that can be used to teach children, adults, and assessments that can also be used to assess what their knowledge is and what they gleaned from the program itself. So if you're interested in this and you work at a school, you work at an agency, then you can just email me directly. And there's a form that you can fill out right there.
Cool.
But part of that is You Can Help Too. So that's I've been using that, and I've gone to several preschools and taught the children about it. And although by the end of the 10 minutes that I try to get through this very quickly, they're ready to run around, but they do remember the phone number at the end. So not only do they remember it, but then they can sing it to their parents, and then their parents get the tools to go along with it, some information, as well as the magnets that we have. We also have multi-surface clings in case you don't want your children to get a hold of magnets, because we don't like children eating magnets.
Yeah.
So they're provided, the kids bring home these tools for their parents as part of this program as well.
So I was gonna say, you want to sing the song for us? So how you just like sing the phone number and they just remember it like that?
I do.
Okay. I'm gonna leave you alone. I thought I should slide that in there on you. Okay, so let's see what else. Oh, what information? So if someone has ingested something like a poisonous substance, or like you said, took too much of something, what information should the caller have already like raring to go when they get on that call?
So first off, if somebody calls us regarding someone who has intentionally misused medication or any substance in an intent to harm themselves, we really want them at the hospital. So calling 911 is really the first thing that we would want someone to do. Because if they're on their way to the hospital, EMS can contact us, or when the patient gets to the emergency room, then the healthcare providers who are there will contact us so that we can begin to advise. So here's the situation, this is what they took. So what are we going to need to know? Well, we'll need to know the demographic. So we need to get a date of birth. We need to know what the victim's name is. In this case, it's a victim. And we need to get any other pertinent information. So was this their medication? What medications do they take? We of course need to know, their measurements. We need to have a weight. We need to have age. So we need to have as much information, their health background, because ultimately, when you call the Poison Center, a medical record is created. So all of the information that's provided to the specialist is HIPAA protected.
Okay.
For those of you who aren't aware what HIPAA means, it's Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act.
Thank you.
HIPAA. I've seen it misspelled and misnamed, but it's been around for a very long time. But this is to protect your health information. So just like every other poison center, with medical professionals who are advising, we have a mechanism to keep the information safe. So it is a medical record.
Now, this question is something that I'm sitting here thinking about, like working with kids. So say a child does ingest something and they end up in a hospital. Is a call made to Children's Protective Services sometimes, depending on situations, or?
So if somebody's in the hospital, it depends on really what the situation is and the policies of that particular healthcare facility.
Okay.
That's typically not going to be something that we would do, but we are mandated reporters. So, if there was a situation where it landed with us to do so, then we might have to do that. It's not something that we want to do. So in the majority of those cases, it's going to be the healthcare facility, and that's because they're also mandated reporters.
Yep.
If there's a situation where a child has been exposed and there's a question of it being related to neglect or mistreatment, I mean, they have to do what they're legally obligated to do.
Okay. Well, that is good to know who does the reporting, because that's serious.
Yeah, it's rare for us to do something like that.
Okay. What time is it? Oh, we're almost out of time. Okay, so we are at 7:53. So can you pop up you have a slide with your contact info on there, don't you? Can you pop that? Is that it?
And I did want to just hit on my call to action.
Oh, go ahead.
So the first call to action, I've mentioned this a few times, is to make sure that you program the Poison Helpline into your phone contacts. It's 1-800-222-1222. That way, no matter where you're at in the U.S. and U.S. territories, you'll be able to reach your local poison center. So wherever you're at. And follow us on social media as well as on our webpage. There's updates on our webpage. They're reflected in our social media. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, LinkedIn. So a lot of updates are put out on a regular basis. I've been putting things out throughout National Poison Prevention Week. And then, of course, contact the Michigan Poison and Drug Information Center if you have questions or if you need educational resources. That's what I'm here for. So if you're looking for, safety information, prevention information, that's what I do. And my contact information is up there as well as the webpage. If you're ever in doubt on how to reach the educator, you can dial the 1-800-222-1222. And at Michigan Poison Center, the Michigan MIPDC, if you dial extension 2, that's going to take you to the educator line. So I would get that call.
Okay.
Okay. And then I also wanted to mention, I think it's on our next slide, shout out to the Children's Foundation. So the Children's Foundation has been a constant support for our outreach program ever since I've been with the Poison Center. So this has been, well, they've been a great support since we came over to Wayne State University School of Medicine. And then before that, they were supporting us when we were with our previous host organization. So I'm always grateful for their help.
Hi, guys. And thank you. So, okay, so Denise, this has been very, very, very educational, informational. Like, I didn't know 90% of this stuff, so I feel terrible because I work in the social work field. I should know the poison control number, like, geez. So, but guys, just those, you can rewind the video if you want to get some of those resources from community partners. If you want to get Denise's information, just rewind, and you actually can screenshot if you're on your cell phone. So good on technology. But you're about to say something. Go ahead.
And I think I put some QR codes there. So the QR codes will take you directly, did I put them on there? I think there was one on there.
Want to go back?
Okay. So I didn't put the QR codes, but it's mipoisonhelp.org. So if you're ever in doubt, just go to mipoisonhelp.org, and that takes you right to our webpage.
Okay.
And yeah, you can always reach out to me. And if you're looking for resources or you're looking for other educational programming, you can contact me directly.
Yeah, this was good. And I wish, just like I would love for domestic violence education, like prevention education, to be taught in some kind of curriculum, taught in school, like at pre-K, they're at the age of understanding. Add all this stuff in one class, okay? Like throw it in the health class or something. And then that way, so when, organizations come, then the kids at least, oh, this we talked about in class. That's what that is, something, They taught us how to write checks back in the day. Teach us how to protect ourselves, okay? But that's your next mission, advocate the curriculum in the schools. So, okay, so I am going to, where did I write? Oh, here. Guys, before we sign off, I want to talk about next week's show real quick. So March 28th at 7 p.m., I would like you guys to tune in on YouTube and Facebook as we have Torlise and Robert Anderson. They are working with Save the Pearls. It's a nonprofit organization. They advocate and help victims of human trafficking. So they will be on the show sharing about information from Save the Pearls. So hi, Charlize. Hi, Robert. So we'll see you guys next week. And Denise, I just want to say thank you so much again. I really appreciate you coming on. This was some good stuff. And like I said, you're welcome. Anytime you want to share some resources, you're welcome to use my platform.
Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure.
Yes, so this was fun. It's always fun. So, guys, we will see you next week, and we're going to say bye-bye now. So